Disassociation, right? How disassociation will ruin your relationship, especially if you're a burned out overachiever, right? You're a burnout overachiever, you've done the work, you've achieved great things in your lives, you've done the self improvement, you've grown your business to X level amount of success. You've done the work, you've performed, success is there for you, right? Personal development, top notch, you're good. You're like the top 1% of men. But you're still disassociated with yourself. You are still going through what we call contamination. Contamination in your relationships, especially with the feminine, but not only with the feminine, but also with other people, social beings, with the relationship with yourself, with others, especially the feminine, and also your family as well. Let's just start off. What am I talking about when I say dissociation, right? Dissociation is disassociate, bro. I cannot pronounce dissociation. Disassociation is basically the same thing as disconnection. What do I mean by this, right? Disassociation, disconnection, it all have the this, right? Dis means like not, you're not connected, you're not associated with yourself, you cannot relate or you cannot connect with yourself, right? Disconnection is when you cannot connect with yourself. And what's the big idea here, right? You are walking as an adult child, especially when you are in a relationship. Why? Because in your relationship, right, especially with yourself, you open up, you expose whatever comes through you, and you don't filter it, right? You as an adult child, you are going through relationships after relationships. You don't know that you're still performing as a child and not just this adult, right? Because picture this. Let's say this is like what kind of like the visualization I use for a lot of my videos. Picture that this is you as an adult, right? I'm going to draw like a body here. Picture this. This is you as an adult. And you're going through love, going through your work, going through, you're going to the gym. How do you draw a dumbbell? All of that, right? And then, okay, this one, check. Yeah. I guess, you're adult, you know how to work and whatever. Gym, yeah, okay, sure, why not? But when it comes to love, it's a bit sad right here. Why? Because all this thing is related to disconnection. You yourself is running and is operating as a little boy that is wounded. As you know, this whole topic I'm interested in, it's all about healing the inner child, healing the boy within, and all those, topics that is around that area, right? So I'm always going to relate it to this drawing, which is you have the body, you have the figure or the physique, right, or the size, the mass of an adult. You are 165 pounds. I'm just gonna say in kilograms because I'm used to kilograms. You are 70 kilograms, 65 kilograms, just like I am. But that 65 kilogram does not mean that you're an adult. That 178 centimeter tall, like your height, it does not mean that you're an adult. Because your emotion your feelings, your heart, your soul is still running as the child. Think about it for a sec there. If you take a look at this, right, it's sad, but you have this happiness in you. You have you're faking your way through life in relationships as well. Let's say you can manipulate how you think in for money, for the gym, but for love, for intimacy, for emotional capacity and emotional relationships. For emotions to be transferred from one energy to another, from one body to another body, the child is still running the show, right? You're still operating as this wounded inner child, but you don't know that because this inner child is subconscious, right? A subconscious, because conscious, that means you're aware of it. Sub, from the word sub, or unconscious, that means you are not really conscious or you're not conscious at all. This is all related through the wounded inner child. That's why whenever you have arguments, whenever you feel dissatisfied with your relationships, you always tend to ruin everything. Just like a story I had with my past relationships with people, I felt my best friend betrayed me, right? Because my brain thinks that when my best friend is like dating my ex, basically, like I suddenly like unfriended him, and then now after that I didn't have any best friend at all, and I felt lonely, and I didn't come to him and become a man and talk to him personally about this problem, and I just left like a little girl. Maybe that's also significant, but it's very significant in here. Perhaps a more relatable story is when my girl, my ex, right? Well, a lot of them, well, quite long ago, I think it was the second or the third one. Every time I'm in an argument with that person, right, I always tend to be angry all the time because I overreact to small things. Like how she behaves, how she does things, I overreact and I see that as a threat to myself, and so how I respond to it is by getting angry. And this cycle is repeated all the time. And little do I know, she is also wounded. I didn't know why she didn't like go away, because I'm always angry and always mad. She also have that sort of anxious attachment, that fear of losing me, that fear of abandoning what she thinks as a source of love, a source of validation from myself. And so that happened, but then at the end of the day, I still broke it off because I knew that I wasn't capable emotionally for that human being. And I know that she's also going through the same problem as a wounded inner child as well, and she has a lot to fix in myself as well. And because of that, well, that's sort of one of the life crises that I had, and it affected my life sort of miserably. I tend to always come back to the bad habits, you know all those stuff, right? Bad habits and so on and so forth. And that's all relating to this. And today we're gonna find out what's the whole context around this. Feeling kind of sick right now. I don't know why. It's like cold and my thing is, it's kind of hard. Alright, so next we have the triune brain. The triune brain, it consists of uh, three parts of the brain, right? The first one is the reptilian brain, which builds up, parts of the brain, it builds up each time we develop in the different ages of our lives. But we call the reptilian brain. Why? Because think of a lizard, right? A lizard will do everything to survive, will do everything to handle his whole life, to survive, to live, right? And how the brain remembers and learns how to breathe, how to eat, how to walk is from the reptilian brain. So whenever you learn how to walk and dance and eat, you do that when you're developing in your early life, which is the lizard brain, right? And basically the whole function of this is to repeat and learn. And let's add it, remember, right? Remember. And the whole idea behind this, right? How we correlate this to like trauma and disassociation. Basically, when we learn, when trauma occurs in the early development of our life, let's say the first developmental stage of our life is called the infancy stage. It's when we're not even conscious of ourselves yet, right? But we have this, we're developing the consciousness of just being, right? We're developing the consciousness of just being. And when that consciousness of that being is affected by this negative emotional energy, then the body will remember that. Our reptilian brain that is actually developing in our early life will actually remember that trauma, right? Let's say you experience some sort of lack of dependency needs, because as an infant we are constantly dependent on our elders, constantly dependent on a caregiver, on someone that can mirror us who we are back, someone that can mirror us, someone that can mirror our own identity, our own being, right? And if we lack that dependency need, such as you care to, your parents, let's say, fail to care for you, or fail to give you your needs of touch, of love, and then you hear screamings and yellings and basically all this, like your environment feels dysfunctional, right? That's why we call it dysfunctional family, a family that is not functional at all, right? The family that is inconsistent, unpredictable. And if you're going through that, if you know from your old story that you went through that sort of environment and you went through those scenes and moments where you hear your parents yell and scream and all this thing is happening around, all this negative emotional energy is happening around the family, you will have your infancy stage wounded. And when you have your infancy stage wounded, your reptilian brain will be affected, of course, right? Because it tries to remember as it develops in an early stage of your life. And one of the terms that we can call that is permanent imprint. Where can I put this? Permanent imprint. Right. So permanent imprint is when your body learns to remember and to repeat, more of remember first and then repeat, right? Of the survival mechanism you used to overcome or to respond to that threat. It's basically this like survival mechanism that your body built in your early development in order for you to survive through the midst of that negative emotional energy, which is the yells, the screaming, and all that. Perhaps you as a child will just cry, right? Because that's like, you know, in order for the body to be stable, you have to release those emotional energy, right? But if you don't release that emotional energy because it's suppressed, then your body will create that survival mechanism that causes you to repeat and remember it in your adult life. So let's say if you are not allowed to cry, right? You weren't allowed to cry because, I don't know, perhaps during, like literally when you were born, a couple years after, your parents like divorced, let's say, and then from there, you don't know what to do, right? You only know perhaps your mom or your father, and then whenever you're crying, and then one of them just silence you, right? This is a permanent imprint. It causes you not to cry later on in your adult life. We can go a lot deeper from this, but I'm just going to stick to that surface level of knowing what emotional permanent imprint is like. You think to yourself, what were the emotions or feelings that were suppressed during the early stage of my life? And if so, if it's actually suppressed, then you have permanent imprint, right? That's number one. Am I still recording? Let me check. I'm still recording. How many minutes has this been? 21 minutes. Okay. This is a long topic, by the way. So maybe it'll go farther than an hour, maybe who knows. All right. I have this huge bottle, bro. Next, we have what we call the limbic system. Number 2, limbing. Limbic system. Oh no. Limbic system. Now, what is the limbic system, right? The limbic system is basically your feeling brain. Let me see first. Because I have notes here, like a lot, right? Because I want to talk a lot about these things, right? The feeling, so the limbic system is the feeling brain, right? It's basically where, we can also call it paleomalian. Oh, sorry. Ugh. It's a burp. Paleomammalian brain. I'm actually not sure why it's called paleomammalian brain, but basically this is where our emotional energy is stored. Energy is stored. We have here the sort of how do we say it? The different fundamentals, the different core and fundamentals feelings, right, or emotions, right? You know, a few example, obviously, being sad, you know, crying, angry, mad, happy, what else? Let's just take that for a sec, right? Sad, crying, angry, mad, happy. Those are the fundamental or the core feelings that we're actually supposed to develop through our early developmental life, right? It develops in the first around 6 months or so, right? It develops around 6 months after we're born. And again, if we are wounded, if trauma occurred, right? If trauma occurred during that time, just think about what would happen, right? If our emotional energy was inhibited, then what will happen? We're not allowed to cry. We're not allowed to be sad. We're not allowed to be happy, or we're not allowed to be angry and release those emotions that we're actually supposed to. What will we go through? Think about it. Disassociation, right? I mean, you probably can't think of another term, but when we are not revolving or not expressing these emotional fundamental core feelings, we're basically disassociated with ourselves. We're not human. We're not human being. What are we here anyway? Why are we here in this world? We're supposed to express our emotions, right? We're supposed to be conscious and be aware of the emotions that we have. And if we need to express something, even anger, like anger is the raw power, is the raw primitive power that a lot of us have. But sometimes we're scared to release that anger. Sometimes we release that anger too much that it turns into rage. And there's a difference between feelings and emotions, right? Feelings and emotions are two different things. Feelings are just feelings, but emotions is like the energy of emotion is altered, right? It's malfunctioning. But feeling, right, in order for you to release the emotion, you have to feel the feelings. That's also what I'm going to be talking about, like in the next couple of minutes, about grief work. But then again, if it's inhibited, we're not allowed to feel, we're going to be disassociated with ourselves, right? A lot of these, modern influencers talking about, oh, it's not okay, it's what is it? If you cry, then you're a little girl, right? Just like a man. If you're a man, you're not supposed to cry. If you're a girl, you're supposed to cry but not become all those words that are coming out of the social media, it's ruining who we are as a human being today. In order for us to go back to our innate potential of a human, we have to express these emotions and not inhibit it. Because if we inhibit it, again, not only it's not the whole concept of being a human, it's also going to sabotage our relationship, especially if we're trying to overachieve things in other aspects of our life, like work, like career, and we're burned out because we sabotage our relationship. The only reason, one of the reasons, is we inhibit our emotions, we inhibit our feelings, right? And just think about it, like, this emotional energy is very important for us to express, and if it's inhibited, then just imagine humans not feeling emotions, I mean, maybe for animals, right? But for humans, not feeling emotions, not having feelings, that's a whole different concept. That's a whole different thing, right? That's abnormal. And of course, you want to change it, because think about how you keep on destroying your relationships, especially as a burned out overachiever. You're burned out of all the relationship that you've gone through because you're still inhibiting your emotions. I hope you like that one. All right, where's my razor? Another thing I want to add for this is the emotional energy. It's trapped inside our nerve fibers. So, you know, the nervous system, nerve fibers, all those scientific. Just heard an ambulance. Is that an ambulance? I don't know if you can hear like background noise because I'm not using noise reduction in my mic because I don't know, it just sounds better. But yeah. Oh, I'm gonna get rid of that. So we have next, number 3 is the neocortex. Neocortex. Right? The neocortex is actually the same thing as your thinking brain. It helps us to plan, to solve problems, to reason, and to execute many more tasks and work. Basically, our working brain, right? How we used to work, we plan, we solve, and we reason for that, right? But this thinking brain, it's good as well. It's good if you want to work. It's good if you want to solve problems like math problems if you're still in academics, or solve your business problems. A lot of this reason and the neocortex, right, the thinking brain, is very, very important. But there's also a warning to that. Although it's important, if we have trauma, then just think about it, right? All I've been talking about is everything to do with emotional needs or emotions and feelings. The neocortex is a thinking brain. Think about what thinking can do to emotions. The nothing, right? Thinking will just see emotion as just a small little thing. It's like, oh, hi emotions. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. I'll just take you, I'll just remove you. Okay, that's it. That's what the thinking brain logically thinks, right? If he sees emotion as a threat or something that is bad, then our thinking brain will just think, okay, it's bad, remove it, that's it. Like, it's not dealing with it properly. That's why even though we develop our thinking brain, it can be bad because it will not take our emotional, our emotions / feelings seriously. Seriously, yeah. It will just deal with it like a piece of a rock, like a piece of pebble, right? Because again, we want to be logic, we want to think. What is it just gonna do? It's just gonna throw it out in a trash can, right? Just think about that. Basically, what it scientifically does is it suppresses it, again, because our emotional energy is negative. We see it as a threat, and when it's coming to us as something that is this like old painful memory or this old painful habit that we don't want to express again. Of course, we don't want to have that memory of trauma. We don't want to have that memory of pain, right? So, old painful memories is basically silenced or suppressed. And if the old painful memories is silenced or suppressed, it's like throwing those, like a piece of paper that is full of your old story into the trash can. Right? Think about that. You throw a crumpled piece of paper with your old story written on it to the trash can. Do you think it will just go away? It will fade away? No. The physical state is still there, but you're just putting it in another storage. So if you throw or if you silence that old painful memories, it's still going to be there in your body and you don't know it. And what will happen if you throw other things inside that trash can? It will smell. It will smell the whole living room, right? I mean, just now I just threw out like a bag of trash can into a bag of trash into the bin. Yeah, and I just thought of that analogy. Analogies, right? Yeah, it's like old painful memories, right? It will just stay there and it will smell. You will have that smell going through your whole living room, and then it goes to your room, it goes to your bathroom. It's just like us. Even though we throw, even though we suppress, or if we silence that painful memories that we had, and if we don't want to remember and think about it and work through it again, then it will smell, or it will flow. That energy will flow, or that tension will flow through our body again and again. It will flow through our arms, again, flow through our heart, our soul, our brain, our eyes, our mouth. That's the same thing as the inner child. The inner child is still revolving around this painful memory. The inner child is like this. It's like the trash bin, right? It's not the trash itself, but it's the trash bin, and it's collecting those old painful memories that we throw. And because the child is still operating in a more immature behavior, then our old painful memories will just project out as a shadow. But again, we're unconscious of it, because why? We throw it away, right? Easy. Just be logical as well about it. Think about it. We throw something away. Of course, we're unconscious of it because we don't know what smells until we go back to the trash bin and actually open it and say, I see. The crumpled old paper with a lot of foods inside it as well is the cause of the whole smell in the living room. I have to clean it up. Same as this. When you silent your old painful memories, and then you find out about it and you're like, I see. So this is why I keep on arguing in my relationship. So this is why I keep on overreacting to small things that my partner says. So this is why I keep on being a perfectionist, right? Having the perfectionist behavior. So this is why I keep on having self-doubt, hatred towards myself. This is why I keep on having these limiting beliefs. It's all from the old painful memories that you silenced. No. If you think about it, a lot of the 3 parts of the triune brain is actually linked up with each other, right? The thinking, the emotional brain, and the lizard, reptilian brain, which is the repetition brain, right? It all works together, by the way. It all needs to work together, or if not, then you wouldn't be sabotaging your relationship right now. I mean, it's part of why I'm making this video. So yeah. Say that I will love you. Not the same way. Comment down below what's your favorite Marvel character, because I'm a very huge Marvel fan. I like Spider-Man, or actually like the Spider-Man, the big time one. I think that's like from the PS3 gameplay or PS2 gameplay. The green and black Spider-Man. Oh, that's my favorite one. I mean, I'm using green right now, so yeah. Alright, so the next thing I want to... I didn't erase this one. That's the triune brain. Limbic, reptilian, neocortex. Remember that. Take notes. Next, we have the expression of emotions to maintain balance. Alright, so this is the expression of emotions to maintain balance, right? If this is inhibited, basically the emotions, right, it will come out in your adult life, which is also called as the ego defense. Now, the ego defense is basically the mask you build to survive potential dangers. Like let's say you are in an argument with your partner, right, and then you see that conflict as like you fear of abandonment from your partner. So what you do is that you keep on saying yes to her. You keep on having this anxious attachment, which is just having no capacity to deal with the problem and just follow her command of what she wants you to do. Or the same thing that goes to your parents as well, or to your friends or any social beings, right? You built that mask, that false mask in you, right? If you can draw a mask, right? Yeah, I think you know this one, right? Doesn't make sense, but basically this is like the happy one and this is like the sad one, right? You built that mask in you in order for you to just to survive that, right? But then the cost of that is you not being able to express emotions, right? And expressing emotions is actually the fundamental core, again, like I talked about before, to maintain balance, to maintain the negative feedback that you have within your body, right? Homeostasis, if you know what that means. Homeostasis is the negative feedback your body has in order for you to go back to your optimum like level. Maybe it's pH if it's experiments, but here it's our emotions, right? Our feelings. And what are those expressions is just like what I previously talked about. You cry, you're sad, you have anger and you express that anger to people, right? That's the expression of emotions. But if this is inhibited, right? If you don't know, if your body doesn't allow it to maintain balance by expression of emotions, it will build this mask, or again the ego defense. It will build the mask you will build this mask in order for you to survive the situation that is pressuring and that is tensing up, in order for you to overcome that potential danger of, let's say, your partner abandoning you because you feel that abandoned. And maybe we can correlate that back to your old story. What was your old story? Did you fear abandonment? Perhaps your father goes away when he was at work, and then he goes to work for a long time and he doesn't go home, and you have that like abandonment feeling, that tense feeling between your relationship with your father or with your mother, right? Perhaps divorce as well. So you have to you fear of abandonment from the partner that you have now, because you were abandoned by your parents back then, right? That's the whole idea. And because of that, you build the ego defense. So whenever you're in an argument with your partner, perhaps you will lash back because you don't want them to abandon you, right? Just like your mother and your father did. It all correlates. That's why it's called a generational cycle, right? And you built this mask that you actually didn't want to, but you built it anyway because of the wounded inner child. So we also have what we call the filter of experience. Let me erase all this first. All right, so the filter of experience, right? What I mean by this is, think about a cook, right? A cook, he will prepare all the ingredients, all the materials that you need in order to create a dish, right? Tomato, how do I draw? Eggplant. Okay. I don't know what that is. Let's just say this is an eggplant, right? Um, what else? A broccoli, mushroom. Think about all that, right? And these stuff is basically the core materials or the core raw ingredients that you set up your, basically these stuff, if I'm about to label them, it's your beliefs, it's your habits, it's your lifestyle, right? It's your emotions. Whatever these ingredients or this material set up to where you are now, right? This will filter the experience. This will be like a glasses that it will be the glasses that will filter whatever events that you go through in your life, right? These materials, it will create this dish, and this dish is basically you, where you are now, and the taste of it and everything, it depends on where you are now. If someone tastes that where you are now and they don't like it, that's because that's like you using your glasses, which is built by these emotions, and you see the events as whatever taste, whatever flavor that you built from these materials. You get what I mean? Basically, whatever flavor you get from this dish, it correlates back to how you interpret the events that you have, like the problem that you have. And this is very important because, again, all we want is to change that filter. All we want is to remove that filter, because we don't want that filter to come from these raw materials or raw ingredients that is affecting your habits, beliefs, lifestyle, and emotions negatively. And so you have to get rid of this filter, get rid of the this like quote unquote flavor, so that you can live in the present. I'm not gonna write present, but I cannot right here. But so you can live in the now, right? And in order for you to do that is by what we call grief work. If you're still here now, good work. I hope you're taking notes as well, because I've taught you a lot about this whole nervous system thing, right? So in order for you to actually remove that disassociation or disconnection with your inner wounded child, is to do what we always call it, original pain work. Why? Because again, remember, the emotion that we have is inhibited, and in order for us to open it again, in order for us to get rid of the smell from the trash can, like I mentioned before, is to get it out, right? But how can we get it out if we don't know what's the cause of it? So in order for us to go to the cause, in order for us to work it out and to release this emotional energy that is negative inside us, is to do original pain work, because that pain is the lowest level of where our negative energy occurs. And because right now we're right here, we have to go down here. But we want to be here because this is just a surface level. This is not the depth of our emotions. The depth of our emotions is right here, right? There's certain levels to go down, right? And those part of the brain, the thinking brain, this is our thinking brain, this is our middle brain, and this is our last, right? Original pain work. I'm gonna create another video for this, but the thing that I can tell you about is that original pain work consists of this, well, three things. First is debriefing. This is basically this stage of going in depth into that negative emotional energy and to release it, right? First is debriefing. You have to uncover your old story. You can do this with a notebook, with your phone, whatever, but I would do it with a notebook. Debriefing. Second, you want to do validation, right? Validation. That means you want to tell your story, or you want to tell what you debrief to yourself to a supportive person in order for them to act as a parent to that as well, right? This is like in the middle stage right here. And then the third stage, which is actually your meditation, which is basically the release of the emotional energy. This is where the work happens, right? And this work is not like one thing, right? You have to do this multiple times in order for you to reparent and reclaim that inner child. Now, after you do this whole after you reclaim your inner child, what you have to do is, now you don't want to be stuck here, right? Because when you descend, when you go down, you also want to go up. You don't want to just go down all the time, right? You want to go up. You want to ascend after that. And in order for you to do that is by reparenting, right? What is this whole reparenting thing? Reparenting is the same thing as championing your inner child, right? If we erase this first, now it's called championing. If you're a champion to your child, right, what does that mean? That means is you reparenting the child, is you being there for the child, right? It's called champion. If you become the champion of something, you become the successor, you become the guardian, you become the champion of that child. So you have to champion that child. And how to do that is by the 4 P's in therapy. 1 is to have potency. Same thing as having power. If you have power, then the child will trust you to get rid of old shaming beliefs that you had within your old dysfunctional family back then when you were a childhood. The second one is permission, right? You need to have the permission to allow the inner wounded child to express the feelings, to express that beliefs that is not old, that is not shameful, right? To express those emotions that weren't yet expressed back then. Allowing to express. Next is protection. Protection. I mean, as a parent, you always have to protect your child, right? You have to protect and you have to defend him and fight for him. So every time there is someone that's violating the boundaries, you have to defend and fight. You have to create boundaries towards your relationships with another person. That's for protection. And lastly, in order to do all of this, you have to keep on practicing, right? Because again, I think the most cliche word is practice makes perfect. So you keep on having to practice all these like potency, permission, protection in order for you to actually reparent and to actually champion your inner child. Now, I mean, if you can take away one thing from here, is that this one, you need to have the permission, allowing it to express. Perhaps in order for you to actually express that first, you first have to do daily affirmations, you have to do I mean, the most important thing is doing that grief work or the original pain work, right? If you haven't done that yet, your brain will just stay on that thinking brain. And if you just do this straight away, you're not going to be able to understand all those emotional negative energy, because you just doing this is only surface level, and you won't have what we call the second hand change, because we want this to be a permanent change, right? We don't want this to be just like a first hand change, just like stopping one event or one situation. We want to stop compulsivity. We want to stop that compulsion to repeat whatever negative energy that we have, that we are inhibited by in our adult life today. And if you enjoyed this video, please share it to someone, and I hope you take notes as well, and I'll see you in another one.